to a number, and so on and so forth. This happens quite a bit in JavaScript because it's dynamically typed. Let's look at an example. So I've already seen that I have an operator, and it takes two parameters, and that this is a function that returns a value. So a is set equal to 3 because 1 plus 2 is 3. Very clear. Now you may also know that the plus operator is used to do something else. If I pass two numbers to the plus operator, then I get addition. But if I pass two strings like hello and world, then instead of trying to add it as numbers, it concatenates the string. It puts them together. Now, here's the question. What if I pass the operator two different types? If I give this function a number and a string, what do you think is going to happen? What will be my value? Well, I refresh, and I get what looks like 12. Oh, wait a minute. Did the math just go haywire? No. What I got was as if these were two strings, and it simply put them together, 1 and then 2. So what just happened? What happened was that this value, the first parameter, was coerced by the JavaScript engine into a string. In memory, the string 1 and the number 1 look nothing alike. Now, they look awfully similar when you're typing on the screen, but actually in the computer memory, the number 1 and the string 1 don't look anything alike. But the JavaScript engine was smart enough to say, well, I know the people that coded the JavaScript engine, coded this guess, this best guess into the engine, said when you call the plus operator, this function, and you give me a number and a string, then I'm going to make a choice to try to coerce that number. I'm going to try to figure out what it would be if it was a string, and the JavaScript engine successfully coerced that one. It didn't literally type those in, those characters, but under the hood it coerced that from the number 1 to the string representation of the number 1, and then finished running that function. Notice that I didn't ask JavaScript to coerce this value. I didn't type something here special that said some kind of convert this to a string value or something like that. I simply called the function with these two parameters, and when the function ran, it chose to coerce my value instead of giving me an error, which is what some other programming languages would do. And this has a lot to do with the fact that JavaScript is dynamically typed, so it tends to try to convert things to the value that you want, because you're not explicitly telling it what values types should be. This was just happening under the hood of the JavaScript engine. And understanding that coercion is happening is very important, because you can avoid some important bugs and debug things when things look a little strange. For example, if someone had accidentally typed this, you would understand that 1 plus 2 is 12 because of coercion, because this is a string and this is a number, and it's being coerced. Sometimes these things can be hard to pick up on. For example, if I had just said var a equals 1 and b equals 2, and then I outputted a plus b, I still get 12, because b is a string and a is a number, and it coerced a. But if there was a whole bunch of code in between these two lines, and this b was set somewhere else in the code, you could be really confused by the fact that that's returning 12. But we understand coercion, so we can track down what's really happening. And we also understand that operators are just functions, so they're running code. And coercion is part of that process of calling that function. So we understand that JavaScript is doing its best to understand what something should be, that it's dynamically typed, and that coercion is a fundamental part of the JavaScript language as a result. All right, let's move on. It's time to talk about comparison operators in JavaScript. And here's where we'll see that what we've been discussing, all these things that may have felt not very necessary till now, regarding operators and precedence and associativity and coercion, where they all come together to explain some behaviors in JavaScript that many find confusing. So again, I have a blank app.js file, and we're going to try some things. And I encourage you to try these things yourself in your app.js file or in the console, in the dev tools of your browser. Mess around. As we discuss, you want to be able to understand and be familiar